The season of blame Draymond is mercifully coming to an end for the Golden State Warriors. Unfortunately, their issues are not. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with yours, Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him. And if you like the podcast, make sure you share, subscribe, comment, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. And for that, let's get to the reason why we're here today. The Golden State Warriors are rounding up their season. Earlier this year, I thought that they were going to go on a major run the second half of the season. Instead, that run has not happened. They won some games, but the West has been unbelievably loaded this year. However, the Warriors still sit in 10th place and more than likely are not going to make the playoffs. They'll only make the play-in, but won't succeed to the playoffs. And the reason that many of you will be force-fed or many of you will be given the low-hanging fruit reason will be is Draymond's fault. Everything this year has been Draymond's fault. The struggles of Kuminga, that's Draymond's fault. The inability to play defense, Draymond's fault. California, you can no longer have Skittles in California, Draymond's fault. The weather, Draymond's fault. Everything has been Draymond's fault. Problem is, that ain't the reason why the Warriors stink. That ain't the reason why they struggle. The reason why the Warriors have struggled is because of this dude you see behind me. This dude you're watching right now. See, during the championship run of the Golden State Warriors, Andrew Wiggins was a monster. He was the guy that they could depend on to not just give them about 18 points a game, 15, 16, 17 points a game, 6 or 7 rebounds, 3 assists, but they could also depend on him to lock up the opposing team's perimeter player. That has not happened. And as easy as it is to point to the statistics about him failing as far as an offensive player, in the last 5 games, he's giving you about 13 points a game, which is right on par with his average of 13 for the season. It's the fact that opposing teams are shooting 50+% when defended by Andrew Wiggins. So you see, if you want out of the Draymond Green business, that's fine. You don't think the Dallas Mavericks would take Draymond? You want to give up on Draymond, you want to blame everything on Draymond and then sprinkle what's left on Clay, that's cool. Because to me, that isn't the reason why you're here. Age happens. Struggles happen as players get older. But when you miss out on draft picks, which is the second reason why you're playing in 10th place, we'll get to that a little later. And then you mar that with bad free agency moves and bad trades. This is where you sit. So you should be thanking Draymond instead of trying to get rid of him in his 4 rings, instead of trying to get rid of him in the All-Star games, the conference championships, the new arena. Oh, and the Steph Curry years? Yeah, all of that was courtesy of Draymond Green. When you sit and bash the dude, and you remember what your season was like before then, you might want to reshift your eyes to Andrew Wiggins. See, the issues that Wiggins is having are believed to be personal, and that's fine. Some things are allegedly bigger than ball. Where I sit, though, as a non-Warriors fan, but as a basketball fan, I can't help but think, dude, the issues, personal issues you're having, the whole organization about that, because everybody's going to be on notice. They continue to slide. And that won't be Draymond's fault. See, you're looking at a guy that has reached his maximum Hall of Fame career, and you were willing to sell your soul to as long as it got you 50+ wins a game, as long as it got you multiple NBA Finals appearances, as long as it got you one of the greatest shooters of all time, as long as it got you multiple Defensive Player of the Year trophy, and multiple All-Defensive NBA teams. See, I pray Golden State trades Draymond so you can no longer use that low-hanging fruit excuse. So the media will no longer spend hours upon hours, as I'm doing right now, feasting on a dude who's been doing the same thing throughout his career. See, I mentioned earlier they sold their soul to get a Draymond Green, or sold their soul for the results of Draymond Green. Now they want to ask for it back. Now the same intensity and fire he's playing with is no longer good enough for Golden State Warriors fans. But every once in a while, we're talking about the struggles of this dude. See, the highlights you're watching are the highlights during your championship run. Interesting. He's shooting his worst from 3-point percentage this year. Andrew Wiggins is struggling mightily from 2-point percentage. But again, that's the easy thing to point to. It's the defense that's the issue. It's the fact that opposing teams are coming in and lighting him up when they're asking him to play. And you combine that with Jonathan Kuminga's, let's say, slow development. You combine that with Klay Thompson looking like a guy that's played a lot of basketball in his career and coming back from 2 injuries. And is still a hell of a player and will probably, if rumor has it correctly, will thrive in Orlando at least in certain moments. And with age and attrition of Steph Curry, and that's why you're there. See, if you're not going to get this dude anytime soon, you're going to continue to have those problems. You're going to continue to struggle to even make the play in, only to lose in the play. And if anyone thinks, barring some unforeseen injury, that they're going to make it through the play in, you are the ultimate Warriors fan and probably have Warriors paraphernalia and underwear somewhere in your crib. Because this team isn't good enough. I thought they would be. I thought their maturity and blend of youth and experience would take them to the next level. It hasn't. And Draymond's been on his best behavior. And they still haven't moved. Steph Curry cried, and they still haven't moved. And why is that? Is it going to be 2 for 12? 16% shooting? Could it be 41% for the year? Could it be 5 less points per game? Could it be the inconsistency in missing games? Could it be the 30-point games that other teams are giving him? Or the record-breaking, the run-breaking points that they're able to score when Wiggins switches over? Could it be the slow rotation that he's shown throughout the year and getting out on three-point shooters? When it all said and done, it all comes back to, it's the fact that Andrew Wiggins hasn't played well, ladies and gentlemen. It's the fact that you drafted James Wiseman over LaMelo Ball, ladies and gentlemen, and Tyrese Halliburton, ladies and gentlemen. It's the fact that Jonathan Kuminga hasn't developed. And yeah, he's had a good stretch. Do you think he's going to possibly turn that into a terrific career? Because you're still waiting. You're still waiting. Much like you're still waiting on Wiggins. So the next time you turn on the TV and you hear someone go on a rant about a Draymond Green technical foul or calling a referee a racial slur that I've often used to describe somebody that's really ticking me off as well, or you hear about Klay Thompson just isn't the same Klay, don't eat that low-hanging fruit. Because the problem with low-hanging fruit is it ain't always good for you, and sometimes it can poison you. Much like Andrew Wiggins has poisoned the Golden State Warriors into believing that 1 year blip on the radar was going to be a fantastic career worth 4 years, $109 million. It ain't been. The dude you're getting now will never be this dude again. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. Again, if you like the podcast, make sure you share, subscribe, comment, do whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. And as always, we appreciate your time and year. You be easy.